Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to return to Ellon in Aberdeenshire once again, which of course is the home to Brewdog, and we're going to do another beer in the Hammerhead series. So essentially they've taken their Jackhammer IPA and changed the malt base of it, and it's produced, the Black Hammer I have to say was one of the best Brewdog beers I've reviewed in a wee while, but today we've got the first one from that series, which is a bit more difficult to find these days. This one is the Monk Hammer, which is labelled as a ruthless Belgian IPA. As is the case with the regular Jackhammer and the Black Hammer, this guy comes in at 7.2%, so it should be one of these nice kind of American hopped IPAs, but with a nice kind of bready, sort of yeasty Belgian malt base. This one reminds me about the Brovers Shalpive Schoen when I read about this one. That's one of the best IPAs I've reviewed on the channel actually, so I'm really looking forward to trying this one and seeing how we get on with it. It was rated 92 when I checked it out on Rate Beer, and it was about 86 or something like that within the style, so it should be another very solid beer from Brewdog. But yeah, anyway, as is usual with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. It will be very brief because I've done many Brewdog reviews before. There's all the usual links in the description below. The brewery website, the link to my other Brewdog reviews. There's about 100 or so of those now, so make sure you check them out. All the usual social media is there. If you want to see more beer reviews, do subscribe to the channel, and if you have any recommendations, please do get in touch and let me know. So the whole channel actually is based on geography, so if you're interested in beer from a certain city, state or whatever, you can search for beer based on that. But please do get in touch and recommend me some other beers. Your support, as always, is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Brewdog. So as I've told you many a time, Brewdog were started back in 2007 by two guys, James Watt and Martin Dickey, and they were founded in the Keswick Industrial Estate in Fraserburgh in the very northeast corner of Scotland, right on the tip of the monster's nose. But I think back in 2012 it was, they moved their main production down to Ellon, which is closer to the city of Aberdeen. They've got a really nice facility there that's got a bar and things that you can check out as well. So these guys are known as being a very experimental craft brewery. They really love the kind of West Coast Californian beers. They often cite Stone Brewing Company as one of their main influences, and you can taste that when you taste things like Jackhammer and Punk IPA and 5am Saint. Some of their older beers you can taste that sort of influence in. But they've also held the title of World's Strongest Beer on a few occasions. They've got many different series of beer, but these days they're actually known for having a very thriving chain of pubs actually. The first of these opened in 2010 in Aberdeen. I was there on the opening night. Since then they've spread throughout the rest of Scotland, down into England, throughout Europe and further afield than that. Japan and Brazil are two notable locations there, but they've got a whole host of bars, and they're actually working at the moment on their second brewery over in Columbus, Ohio in America. I think it's very close to opening at the time that this video will air, so keep an eye out for that, and there'll probably be more Brewdog beers widely available in America in fact. But what's interesting particularly about Brewdog is that they're a largely crowd-funded brewery. They have the Equity for Punks program where you can buy shares in the brewery in exchange for discounts and stuff like that, and that's how they've actually funded a lot of their bars and their new brewery and the expansion capacity up in Ellon of course as well. So these guys are a very interesting brewery, very kind of solid beers they're producing as well for the most part. And yeah, for those of you studying business, they're pretty interesting in that regard as well. So you could write a thesis on these guys and it would be pretty interesting. They've done some really kind of random things in fact, but they've got a whole host of different beers. Some of my personal favourites from these guys are probably Dogma, Jackhammer. I like the 5am Red Saint as well. That's a really nice beer. Also the Paradox series where they do barrel aging is good. They've got the Ace of Hops where they teach you all about the different tastes from each hop. You also have the Abstract series, which are Belgian beers. They've got a whole host of things. Check out the brewery website in the description below, and you can keep up to date with what's going on at Brewdog. They do some pretty interesting stuff. So yeah, this beer itself, as I mentioned to you in the Black Hammer review, what they've done is they've taken their Jackhammer beer, which was introduced in the prototype range a couple of years ago and proved to be very successful. What they've done with it now though is they're changing the malt base. So the Black Hammer was a black IPA. This one is done using a Belgian yeast strain, so it should be very interesting. The specs on this beer, it's a 7.2% Belgian style IPA. It's hopped with Amarillo, Citra, Centennial, Columbus and Simcoe, and it's got a malt base of extra pale malts, but most of the malty flavour on this one is of course going to come from that Belgian yeast strain. I have to admit I love this style of beer. On the style it says Monk Hammer. Jackhammer has been the single-handedly ripping it up for some time. Now the definitive bitter and twisted IPA has spawned 4 Hammerhead offsprings. Monk Hammer is the first of our supercharged high-pumped hybrids, a dark, cloaked holy man packing an unholy punch. Belgian yeast and American hops unite on a cardinal scale. Steel yourself for biblical volumes of grapefruit. Bow your head for a wave of spicy, fruity, yeasty character, and then cross yourself with the bitter of bitter finishes. Let your senses succumb to this 21st century incarnation. Monk hammer. Worship daily. And it also just says a little bit about Brewdog on the bottom there, but this one looks pretty nice. I think this one is the can that was intended for Swedish distribution and not or Nordic distribution, because it has the pant for 1 krona. But I'll just let you have a little quick look at it. I actually saw this beer when I was in Japan, but I thought the can was different. You can see there that the can on this one is black. I thought the can on the ones in Japan was silver, but I may be wrong about that. But it will be the same beer nonetheless. As I say, 7.2% IPA with all these nice American hops in it, so it should be really good. We'll get this guy open and we'll get on with the tasting then. As I said, a beer this one is probably really going to remind me of is the Shun from Brother Shogpiv in Poland. That was one of the kind of strangest but really incredible IPAs that I've reviewed on the channel in the last little while, so I'm really looking forward to this one. I love this kind of combination of Belgian yeast strains and American hops, but this beer looks very nice. As you can see, it's poured a nice bright yellowy amber colour. There's some big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass and a solid finger of a frothy white head up there. It looks very nice. There is a good little bit of sedimentation visible, but very small particles in this one, but that often happens when you use a Belgian yeast strain in your beers. Just to shine it over here and let you see the exact colour of this one, there you can see it's very nice bright orangey amber. It looks absolutely lovely, and you can smell some of these nice tropical fruits coming off this one. So let's have a look at the aroma then on this one. For me, it's the passion fruit really that's coming out. That's the Simcoe. It really is that passion fruit that's sticking out in this one. You can smell that Belgian kind of bready, yeasty, almost slightly peppery, spicy character underneath that. But without sugaring the beer up, it really does smell like passion fruit to me. That's a really nice smelling beer, that. But we'll sugar it up and see what else we get out of it. When you sugar it up, it actually doesn't give you too much more. There is a bit of the orange, the Amarillo things coming out there. And you can get a bit of the kind of floral aromaticity that usually comes from the Centennial, actually. You can smell a bit of that kind of Centennial, almost piney, resiny character out of there. A bit of grapefruit maybe as well. You can smell that almost sour character a little bit from the grapefruit. And you can get a little bit of the kind of juicier things, you know, the sort of gooseberries, lychees sort of thing that you would expect from the Citra. You can pick that up in here as well. But really, I want to say it's the Simcoe hop on this one that's sticking out for me. It is the passion fruit. But it really, this one smells very interesting. You've got that big bready malt base in there. It's not quite banana, it's more a bready kind of yeasty thing. There's a little bit of peppery character in there as well. Maybe a bit of kind of cloviness or something in there as well, actually. You can smell that little clovey spice. But it's really interesting. I love the smell of these Belgian style IPAs. I could sit and smell this all day, but we'll get on with the actual tasting of this beer now. So just take a bit of time and enjoy the aroma of this one. I'm excited to try this. This is the Monk Hammer, one of the 4 offsprings of the Jack Hammer from Brewdog. They're going to release Chili Hammer and Rye Hammer fairly soon. Slanja. That's nice, actually. Not quite what I was expecting. I was expecting the malt base to be a bit punchier in this, but we'll see how we get on. But no, that is a nice beer. That's the thing that's different about this one, is the hops are there. You're getting all the juiciness from the hops in this beer, and it's as hoppy as you'd expect from a Brewdog beer, but the malt base is just a little bit more prominent, and that's something I think that is less common with Brewdog these days, actually, unless you go to their darker beers, of course. I mean, Brewdog have always been a hop forward brewery. There's no hiding that. They always have been. But this one is interesting. This Belgian style IPA is very cool, just because you have that little bit more malty character to it, but you have the typical hoppiness that you expect of Brewdog, and it's not as dry as some of the other beers you're going to get from the hoppier side of things on Brewdog too. But that's good. I like that. I like that one. This is really quite nice. So yeah, in the middle of the malt base, or in the middle of the palate, as I would say, where you get the malt base flavours, you can feel that kind of pale malt going across there. You can feel some of the hoppy side of things actually spreading into the middle of your palate at the back, which is quite unusual. But you're getting these kind of bready, yeasty flavours there on top of that, and they're, you know, they give the beer a very, very nice smoothness actually. And it complements these fruity flavours really nicely. So at the back of the palate, you can get a little bit of the kind of piney raisins there. I'm getting a bit of pine raisin dryness in the very back corners of the palate, and as you come further forward, you can feel it spreading a bit, but the floral character starts to build up on the sides of the tongue there, and as you go round the front curve of the palate, it's a sort of grassiness, I think, that you're getting out of the beer at this point in time. But that's another very, very solid beer from Brewdog. In terms of the IPAs that I've tried from these guys, this one is pretty different actually. It's not like that one I was mentioning either, the Shawpeeve, the Schoen beer. The Schoen beer was a lot more kind of sweet on the malt base, which was really, really nice. This one's a little bit smoother and more bready. You got a little bit more kind of a yeasty, doughy character out of the other one, but this one works really well actually. It works well in a different way. But yeah, fruity side of this beer is interesting too. You can pick up the grapefruits just behind the front curve of the tongue. As I always say, you get that little oily bubble. You can pick up the grapefruits in there. I think the passion fruit's a bit more prominent in there. You only really get the grapefruit kind of sourness once the tongue dries out a little bit. It's mainly the kind of the passion fruits for me that are coming out a little bit more. There is the orange in there as well, but I'm not getting so much of the kind of the juicier elements from the citra hop. Maybe just a little bit right in the middle of the front of the tongue on the aftertaste, but really it's more of the fruity side is more a grapefruity thing, and that darker grapefruit and passion fruit mix goes well with the sort of piney raisins and the floral aromaticity that's coming out of this beer. But this is very nice, and it's very drinkable as well actually. The one thing you wouldn't believe about this beer if you tried it is that it's 7.2%. With the Black Hammer, I would have said you wouldn't think too much about that because it's a darker beer. But when you've got a lighter beer like this, you would think about that. But this one really doesn't come across as a 7.2% beer, so it's very smooth in that regard and very drinkable. So that's something to be aware of if you are trying this one. But another very, very solid IPA from Brewdog. I would love to drink this one again. It'd be interesting to try it on tap, just where you get that little bit of a thicker mouthfeel and see how it comes out, and see if the bready malt base gets a bit more sweetness. But again, it's another fairly, well, very solid beer in fact from Brewdog. Certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this one again. And I love these Belgian style IPAs where you've got that nice doughy bready character and the sweet malt base there. It's nicely done, this one. So hopefully they bring it back next year. In terms of the mouthfeel, I'd say this one's mid-bodied. Not so oily, this one. It does feel a little bit thicker because of the breadiness in the mouthfeel. The hoppiness has a nice dryness as well. Malt base is very smooth, like I said. You've got a bit of juiciness from the fruity character, but in the aftertaste it's really those kind of slightly pine resiny, dark floral aromatic elements that are just lingering there in the tongue, and some of the juicy fruit character at the front of the palate too. But like I said, overall, very, very solid beer again from Brewdog. So wouldn't hesitate to drink this one. I'm interested to see how the Chili Hammer and the Rye Hammer turn out in this series, but certainly Black Hammer, and then now I've tried the Monk Hammer as well. These are two good beers, and if you like the Jack Hammer, you'll probably want to try these two variants of it. They turned out very nicely in fact, so well done to Brewdog for that one. But yeah, as always, I hope you've enjoyed this beer review. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. I hope you've enjoyed my take on the Monk Hammer. I'd recommend this one if you like the Belgian style IPAs. A really interesting smooth malt base on this one, which is kind of unusual for Brewdog. The hoppiness and the maltiness in this one mix very well, and usually the IPAs from Brewdog are very punchy, so it's unusual in that regard. But until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Leave your comments in the section below and I will get back to you on those. Thank you again for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, it's Landed just now, and we will return to Brewdog very soon, I'm sure. Cheers.